The studio lights blazed down, the cameras rolled, and millions of eyes across the nation were fixed on one live broadcast. The air was thick with tension before the show even began. The host, a young and fiery commentator known for her sharp tongue and unapologetically woke stances, had been waiting for this interview for weeks. And sitting across from her, calm as still water, was Senator John Kennedy. His trademark Southern charm, his simple but pointed wit, and his refusal to be rattled made him a target and a mystery to those who underestimated him. The host leaned in, her voice laced with confidence. "Senator Kennedy, don't you think your views are outdated? Don't you realize people want change? That this new generation doesn't want to hear about tradition, faith, or personal responsibility? Isn't it time you step aside for progress?" The question was meant to corner him, to make him stumble live on national TV. Viewers in the studio gasped, waiting for fireworks. But John Kennedy didn't flinch. He smiled, that same slow, knowing smile that carried both kindness and a razor edge of wisdom. "Ma'am," he said softly, his voice carrying across the room, "progress doesn't mean bulldozing everything that came before. Progress means building on the foundation of what's good and true. If you tear down the house before you have another one built, you're not creating progress, you're creating homelessness." The host blinked, her confidence faltering. She tried again, doubling down. "But Senator, your positions are divisive. You talk about accountability and hard work, but that ignores systemic struggles. People want fairness, not lectures." John's eyes softened, and his voice took on a quiet weight. "Fairness isn't giving everyone the same outcome, it's giving everyone the same chance. When my daddy worked 12-hour days in the oil fields, no one handed him success, but he built a life for us with calloused hands and faith. I've met kids in my state with nothing but grit, who rise from poverty to lead communities. That's not because government gave them everything, they made choices, they worked hard, and yes, they leaned on family and faith. If I stop preaching responsibility, I'm robbing people of the truth that they can rise above their circumstances." The audience stirred, whispers echoing through the room. Some nodded, others frowned, but everyone was listening now. The host tried again, her voice sharper this time, as if trying to regain control. "But Senator, don't you see that your values of faith, discipline, tradition are outdated? They don't fit the world we live in anymore." John leaned forward, his gaze steady. "Then maybe it's the world that's out of step. People are crying out for meaning, for something steady in a storm of chaos. They're told happiness comes from money, fame, or tearing others down. But look around, why are so many lost, broken, and angry? The truth is, people need roots. They need hope that isn't tied to the latest trend or political slogan. That's why I won't apologize for standing by principles that have held families and nations together for centuries." The room went silent. The host opened her mouth but found no words. The audience began to clap as low at first, then rising until the entire studio roared with applause. Even those who disagreed with Kennedy couldn't deny the conviction in his words. He hadn't raised his voice, hadn't thrown insults. He had spoken with a blend of honesty, humility, and strength that cut deeper than any argument. For a moment, the host's tough exterior cracked. She looked at him, and instead of her usual smirk, her expression softened with something that looked almost like respect or maybe realization. When the show ended, social media exploded. Clips of Kennedy's response spread like wildfire, with people from every side of the political spectrum sharing it. Some praised him for defending timeless values. Others, even critics, admitted that his words carried a truth that was hard to ignore. But for John Kennedy, it wasn't about winning a viral moment. After the cameras stopped, he walked backstage, removed his microphone, and shook the host's hand. "Thank you for the conversation," he said sincerely. And he meant it. To him, debates weren't about destroying people, they were about defending principles, about reminding the country that truth and grace still mattered. As he walked out of the studio into the cool night air, Kennedy reflected on the evening. He knew not everyone would agree with him. He knew he'd face backlash, but he also knew something far more important: he had planted seeds of thought in hearts and minds. And maybe, just maybe, some of those scenes would grow into something better than anger, better than division, as something closer to the kind of progress that truly lasts. And that was his greatest victory, and not that he had destroyed a host on live TV, but that he had reminded America of a truth it had almost forgotten: real strength comes not from tearing others down, but from lifting up what is good, right, and eternal.